Hello everyone, Andrew Tenjum recording for Cardhoarder.com, and this is round one of our 5-round standard competitive league with Bant Company. And we won the die roll and will be on the play. And this hand is obviously great. It has lands, it has some 2-drops, it has a card that's a creature and a land, and then it has some top end as well. So there's nothing I'm really even missing with this hand. So since we have no turn 1 play, I'm just going to go ahead and play this Fortified Village tapped, and then we will see what our opponent is up to. Alright, Lightning Berserker is an interesting one. It might mean they're on some type of mono-red or blue-red burn type deck, or maybe just like a mono-red aggro deck, but we'll see. So we can either play Dustwatch Recruiter or Selfless Spirit here. I'm more inclined to start with the Dustwatch Recruiter because in this matchup we're probably never going to activate it anyway, and it makes for a better blocker for the Lightning Berserker because they actually have to pay a mana to trade with it. And if they spend their entire turn, or I should say half their mana for their turn trading with my Dustwatch Recruiter, then I am completely fine with that. So as I mentioned before, I am going to block because I want them to spend a mana in order to make the trade here. And that's going to leave them with not great options in main phase 2 because they're going to have to play something that costs 1 as opposed to a 2-drop or maybe even 2 things that cost 1. So I'm very happy with the trade there. And it looks like he has no follow-up. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and play Nissa here to be the most mana efficient and to find a 5th land. Not that I need it right now, but next turn I can play like Dromoka's Command and Selfless Spirit in the same turn. So I just want to obviously be as mana efficient as I can possibly be. So we'll see what he has as a turn 3 play here. Alright, Hanwha Garrison. Okay, so it looks like he's some sort of mono-red, maybe even bigger mono-red deck. But we do have a great play here. We can go ahead and cast our Selfless Spirit. I suppose it doesn't really matter the order we do this, but I'm going to go ahead and cast Selfless Spirit, put a counter on my Nissa and have it fight his Hanwha Garrison, and then attack him for 3 damage. It's the most obvious play, of course, but it's also a very strong play, and it leaves us pretty far ahead on board, especially since Nissa gets to come down next turn with the Selfless Spirit to either protect it, or I may want to flip my Avacyn, and I can do that as well. Probably won't want to flip it, but who knows what he's going to do with his 4 mana next turn. So we'll go ahead and attack him for some first blood here. And we'll see what he has for turn 4 for us. I feel like that there's a lot of random creature decks in this format that putting a counter on a creature and fighting it is just very strong, and I think it's a disservice that many players are cutting Dromoka's Commands completely. I agree that the card isn't fantastic right now, but I want access to at least 2 of them, whereas a lot of the people are cutting them completely or cutting them down to 1, and I don't really agree with that personally. Alright, so he's going to attack me. I'm not going to block here. If he wants to spend his turn, his entire turn pumping the Lightning Berserker to hit me for 3, I'm fine with that. I'm at 20 life. But instead he just paid a mana to deal me a damage, which I'm okay with in this situation. Alright, he has a Thermal Alchemist, so that's fine as well. I think at the moment we are winning this race pretty handily. Something to note is last turn I probably should have played Yavimaiakos instead of my forest in case I drew Fortified Village, which I did, so we did get punished there. But that's something to note in the future. So I'll go ahead and attack him with both my creatures, and we can hold up Avacyn this turn, which is pretty great. And regardless of what he does, I'm probably going to play Avacyn during his turn and just try to beat him down before he can burn me out. This kind of looks like a mono-red version of the blue-red burn deck, but I think both versions are essentially the same in that it's just a race for the most part. Unless if this deck isn't as burn heavy as I believe it to be, but we'll see. So he replays his Lightning Berserker, and then if he attacks me here, I'm just going to go ahead and play my Avacyn to ambush the Lightning Berserker. I don't think there's any reason not to in this spot. And I want to conserve my life total just in case something crazy happens, even though I am pretty far ahead here, obviously. And I can't really think of anything that could kill this Avacyn with the trigger on the stack, but even if it did, I could just sack my Selfless Spirit. Alright, so the trigger resolves, and we get to ambush this Lightning Berserker. And he has another Thermal Alchemist. So that could be pretty scary if he has a bunch of burn spells, but for now we're not concerned. Like we could flip. Actually, no. If we sack this Selfless Spirit, Avacyn becomes 6 power. He goes to 9. And both of his Alchemists die. Alright, it's not quite lethal, so that's probably not worth it doing it yet. We may as well just attack with our guys, and then we have the option to flip our Avacyn during his upkeep. So Ojutai's Command was a great draw. It essentially guaranteed we can't lose this game at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and attack him. We'll just take it all, go down to 3, and I'm just going to sack my Selfless Spirit. The Avacyn trigger will kill him during his upkeep, and even if he has something to potentially save it, Ojutai's Command can buy back my Selfless Spirit to make my Avacyn indestructible. So that should do it right here. So he's going to deal me damage. He's going to deal me another damage. Avacyn will flip, and he will go to 0 life. Alright, so we win game 1. As for sideboarding, I'm not sure, just because I don't know exactly what his deck is comprised of. I don't know if it's like the blue-red burn deck, just without blue, but either way, Lantern Scout's going to be great. That's essentially what this card is in the sideboard for. Negate is probably great too, although we do have to be careful about our non-creature spell count. So we boarded in 2 non-creature spells, so I want to board out 2 non-creature spells to keep us at 24 Collecting Company hits. So in this case, I'm going to board out Archangel Avacyn because I think it's worse than both Ojutai's Command, Dromoka's Command, and Collecting Company. I guess to clarify, Archangel is not a non-creature spell, but it is not a Collecting Company hit. So then we have to board out a couple creatures to replace with these lightning scouts, and I think here we're just going to go with the Nissa Vastwood Seers. Nissa isn't bad by any means, but it's kind of low impact in this matchup because you don't really get to the Planeswalker that often, and even when you do, it's not that great. Everything else I think I like here, so we are going to go ahead and submit this 60. There's an argument to be made for Clash of Wills as well. However, I just think that these 10 non-creature spells are better, and we don't want to dilute our Collected Company hits just to play another counterspell in which we already have quite a few. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this 60 because I like this 60 in this matchup. Alright, this hand has no white mana, which is pretty awkward. With 3 white spells in our hand and no white mana, we unfortunately have to mulligan. Even though if one of these was a white source, this hand would be an all-star hand. But that is not the case, so we will mulligan. This hand's better. It has all our colors of mana and some good cards against his deck in general. Plus we could just scry. Hopefully we find a threat, preferably a 2-drop. Waste we do not want, so we're going to put that on bottom. And we are off to the races. Alright, Evolving Wilds is decent. We'd really like to find a threat so that we can put pressure on him. Falkenrath Gorger is an interesting one. I suppose he's just playing it as a 2-1, like a Savannah Lands of sorts. Perhaps he has a couple Madness synergies, but I doubt he has that much. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and play this Yavimaya Coast and hold up Negates. We could have held up Dromoka's Command as well, like maybe we could have searched out an island with the Evolving Wilds, but there's no situation we really want to cast Dromoka's Command unless he plays like a Fevered Visions. But even then we could just negate that, so holding up Negate is obviously the right play here. Alright, so he's going to attack us. We'll take the 2 damage. Once he passes priority back to us. And hopefully he plays a non-creature spell. I have no idea what he would play, but if he doesn't, we unfortunately just have to untap without using any of our mana. Incinerate Flow. I suppose it's going to be difficult for me to use both of these negates as well as my Dromoka's Command Spell Queller, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and negate this to gain 2 life, essentially. I know gaining 2 life isn't very exciting, but I think it's kind of what you have to do in this matchup. Alright, so another land isn't that great because we do need to find threats. But it's what we have for now, so we're just going to roll with it. So I think I'm going to try to ambush this Falkenrath Gorger. There is an argument to wait until I can hold up Negate and Dromoka's Command, but that's 2 turns from now, so I need to be doing something during these 2 turns. So I'm just going to go for it now. If he has a removal spell, that's fine. That's not really that bad for us. But if he has nothing, there's a lot of upside to being able to eat this Vulcanwrath Gorger, which it appears is the case. And something to note is that countering something with Spell Cooler isn't that great in this matchup because they have so many ways to remove it between Incendiary Flows and other removal spells that I actually prefer that Spell Cooler has nothing underneath it rather than something underneath it. Alright, so he floated us 3 to the face, which is fine with us. So this turn, we have the option of holding up Negate and Jamoka's Command or getting Tireless Tracker down. And I think the correct play is to just get the Tireless Tracker down because we're not really in fear of dying right now. We're at 13. We wouldn't have to worry about dying until maybe next turn at the earliest. So I think it's pretty good to get this Tireless Tracker down and just get some pressure on the board. And then next turn, and for essentially the rest of the game, we can hold up Jamoka's Command and Negate. But he was at 20 life starting this turn, so I really need to get the pressure on before we give him too many draw steps and he just burns us out. Alright, so Firecraft 4 to our face, so we're at 9. 9 I'm pretty comfortable with as far as life total goes. So I'm going to go ahead and play a land. I'll play a tap land because all of our things cost 2 mana, so we're going to be able to do 2 of them regardless. So may as well play the land that comes into play tapped. And I'm going to attack him. And I'm actually going to break a clue here just because it's very unlikely that we need to cast Negate and Jamoka's Command, and I just want to get a couple more points of damage in and maybe filter through my deck a little bit. Ooh, so we do have the option of playing Sylvan Advocate during the main phase too. And that actually would put him dead on board because 4 from the Advocate, 2 from the Queller, and 6 from the Tracker if we crack 2 clues next turn. So I think I am going to play it because I don't think he can really kill me from 8 life. When he has 4 mana, yeah, I don't think that's really possible unless if I'm missing something. But I'm going to go ahead and just do it and attempt to put him dead on board next turn. We're able to, if we untap at the current board state, we are going to be able to have lethal in play with Negate or Jamoka's Command backup, even. Hopefully there's nothing I missed and he can kill us from 8 with 4 mana, but I don't think he can. He's probably doing the math to try to figure out if we can kill him next turn. I'm not sure what his plays would be anyway, but he probably has a decision of whether to kill my Tireless Tracker or go to my face. Alright, so it looks like he killed my Advocate and dealt 3 damage to us. So we'll go to 5, but we're in a pretty comfortable position here because we have both Negate and Jamoka's Command backup. So I'm going to go ahead and crack a clue here. Just to add a power to the board, and we're still holding up both Jamoka's Command and Spellcaller. So now he has the tough task of killing us from 5 when we have both Negate and Jamoka's Command backup. Although something to note is if we cast our Negate using our blue mana, then we go down to 4, and Exquisite Firecraft kills us because it's uncounterable. So we'll be careful to not cast our Negate for no reason in this spot. Especially since we can just prevent the damage from anything with Jamoka's Command. And it's going to be very difficult for him to kill our Tireless Tracker, which presents lethal by itself. Act of treason on Tireless Tracker. Okay, so theoretically that kills us. I think it's pretty safe to just negate it here. We go down to 4, but he only has 2 lands untapped, so he can't have... he can't really have anything to kill us. And even if he did, we still have Heroic's Command. I kind of forgot about that, so... it's a good thing we held up negate, or else we would have just died. And then Heroic's Command is going to protect us from any burn spells, but he's just dead here. There's nothing he can have to save him. So we'll go ahead and attack for lethal. Alright, and that was round 1. We will be back for round 2 in just a few moments.